There's a peculiar weight some people carry, invisible to the naked eye, yet unmistakable in how they move through the world. It's not sadness, exactly, though it may wear that mask sometimes. It's not wisdom, though wisdom often follows. It's something more ancient, more fundamental. It's the weight of seeing too clearly, the burden of refusing the comfort of illusion. Jean-Paul Sartre once wrote that existence precedes essence, a dense philosophical statement. Perhaps, but it whispers something profound about those rare souls who seem to live on a different frequency than everyone else. They don't become themselves by accident. They forge themselves, sometimes in fire, often in solitude, always in radical honesty. If you've ever felt like you're speaking a language no one else quite understands, if the world sometimes feels like a play where everyone knows their lines except you, if you've chosen the difficult path of authenticity over the easy comfort of pretense, then perhaps you carry this rare quality. Not a gift, not a curse, but something in between. A way of being that Sartre spent his life trying to articulate. Today, we explore 8 signs that you might possess what philosophers call an existential consciousness, a rare personality forged not in what you do, but in how unflinchingly you face what it means to be human. First sign: you experience existence as a continuous question. Most people wake up and simply are. They move through their days wrapped in the warm blanket of certainty, their identity handed to them by family, by culture, by the accumulated expectations of everyone who came before. But you wake up and wonder, who am I today? What does this all mean? Why this particular life, in this particular skin, at this particular moment in history? This isn't anxiety, though others might mistake it for that. It's radical awareness. Sartre called it existence preceding essence, but in everyday language, it means you refuse to accept yourself as a finished product. You know, deeply, that you're always in the process of becoming. Every choice you make writes a sentence in the story of who you are, and you feel the weight of that authorship. Imagine standing in front of a mirror, but instead of seeing a fixed image, you see infinite possibilities. The person you could be if you made this choice or that one. The versions of yourself that haunt the edges of your consciousness. Most people see one reflection. You see a kaleidoscope. This awareness can be exhausting. While others rest in the certainty of who they believe they are, you remain awake to the terrifying freedom of your own malleability. You understand, perhaps without words, that you're really never truly at home in yourself, because home is not a place you find, but a thing you must constantly create. Second sign: you cannot hide behind roles. Sartre introduced us to the concept of bad faith, the way people hide from their freedom by pretending to be nothing more than their social roles. The waiter, who is only a waiter. The doctor, who is only a doctor. The parent, the employee, the citizen who disappears entirely into their function. But you've never been able to do this convincingly. Even when you try to play the part, there's a part of you that stands outside, watching, aware of the performance. You feel like an actor who can never quite forget they're on stage. When you're at work, part of you observes yourself working. When you're with family, you notice yourself being a family member. This doubled consciousness, this inability to merge completely with any single identity, marks you as existentially awake. Others might find comfort in their titles, their positions, their clearly defined places in the social order. These things become armor against the uncertainty of existence. But for you, the armor never quite fits. You feel the gap between who you're supposed to be and the raw, undefined consciousness that you actually are. This doesn't mean you reject all roles. Rather, you hold them lightly, knowing they're masks you choose to wear, not the face beneath them. You understand what Sartre meant when he said we are condemned to be free. You cannot escape into the comfort of being just one thing, because you're always aware that you're choosing, moment by moment, to be whatever you're being. And that awareness, that inability to disappear into comfortable certainty, sets you apart in ways both painful and profound. Third sign: you feel the absurdity of normal life. Picture a crowded shopping mall on a Saturday afternoon. Hundreds of people moving with purpose, buying things they don't need, pursuing small pleasures, caught up in the current of normalized existence. And there you are, standing still in the middle of it all, suddenly struck by the strangeness of the entire scene. the absurdity. Not in a judgmental way, but in a fundamental, almost cosmic way. You look at the routines everyone treats as sacred, the goals everyone pursues as if they were written in the fabric of reality itself, and you can't help but see the arbitrary nature of it all. The emperor, as they say, has no clothes, and you're one of the few who notices. Sartre and Camus both explored this sensation of absurdity, this recognition that we're meaning-making creatures living in a universe that offers no inherent meaning. Most people solve this problem by accepting prepackaged meanings handed down by society. They adopt their culture's answers without question, but you can't do that. You see through it, not because you're cynical, but because you're honest. This creates a peculiar kind of loneliness. You're at the party, but not quite of the party. You participate in the rituals of daily life while remaining aware that they're rituals, constructions, collective agreements we've all made to stave off the vertigo of meaninglessness. You laugh at the jokes, you play the games, but there's always this small distance, this awareness that we're all making it up as we go along. And sometimes, late at night, you wonder if everyone else feels this too and simply pretends not to. Or if you're truly alone in seeing the theater for what it is, the uncertainty itself becomes another layer of the absurdity. You're aware of the absurdity of being aware of the absurdity. Fourth sign. You cannot accept easy answers. The human mind craves closure. We want our questions wrapped up neatly, tied with a bow, filed away in the cabinet of solved problems. Religion, ideology, tradition, science, all offer us these packages of certainty. And for most people, these packages are enough. They provide the comfort of knowing, the relief of having answers. But you turn these packages over in your hands, examining the seams, questioning the contents, not because you enjoy being difficult, but because you cannot betray your own need for authentic understanding. Easy answers feel like small deaths to you. Each one you accept without questioning is a piece of your consciousness you've agreed to put to sleep. Sartre believed that we must create our own values in a world that provides no universal moral compass. This terrifies most people. They want to be told what's right, what's true, what matters. They want authority figures, sacred texts, scientific studies, anything that can remove the burden of deciding for themselves. You understand why people crave this certainty. You feel the seduction of it yourself. How much easier life would be if you could just believe, truly believe, in someone else's answers. But every time you try, something in you rebels. A voice that says, no, you must think this through yourself. You must arrive at your own truth, even if it takes a lifetime, even if you never fully arrive. This makes you frustrating to others sometimes. They mistake your questioning for negativity, your caution for cynicism. They don't understand that you're not rejecting their answers to be contrary. You're re-protecting something sacred, your right and responsibility to forge your own understanding of this strange existence we share. Fifth sign. You feel responsible for your entire life there. That's a line from Sartre that haunts those who truly understand it. Man is condemned to be free, because once thrown into the world, he is responsible for everything he does. Not just some things, everything. Every choice, every non-choice, every moment of action and inaction. The weight of total responsibility. Most people protect themselves from this crushing weight by constructing elaborate systems of blame and excuse. My parents made me this way. Society doesn't give me a chance. I'm a victim of circumstance. The economy, the system, my genes, my past, anything to shift the burden elsewhere. And yes, all these factors are real. Context matters. History shapes us, but you can't fully hide behind these explanations. Even when they're true, even when circumstances genuinely limit your options, you feel the terrible freedom of your own response. You understand that between stimulus and response lies a space. And in that space is your power, your choice, your responsibility. This doesn't mean you believe in naive free will, as if we float free of all constraints and conditioning. Rather, you recognize that even with limited options, you're still choosing. Even when you feel powerless, you're choosing how to relate to that powerlessness. Even when you're following someone else's script, you're choosing to follow it. This awareness can be paralyzing sometimes. If everything is your responsibility, then every mistake is your fault. Every failure is your doing. Every moment of unhappiness is something you've somehow authored. It's too much. It's overwhelming. And yet, you can't unknow it, so you carry this weight as gracefully as you can, knowing that it's the price of being truly human. The price of refusing to be just another object pushed around by forces beyond your control. You've claimed your subjectivity, and with it, you've claimed the burden of being responsible for the project of your own existence. Sixth sign. You experience radical authenticity as both liberation and loneliness. Sartre spoke endlessly about authenticity, about living in accordance with your own freely chosen values rather than those imposed by others. It sounds beautiful in theory, doesn't it? Be yourself, live your truth, follow your own path. But in practice, authenticity is a lonely road, because here's what the self-help books do you and tell you. When you refuse to perform the expected version of yourself, when you stop pretending to want what you're supposed to want, when you live by your own compass rather than the magnetic north of social approval, you become strange to others, threatening, even not because you're judging them, but because your existence questions their choices. You know this loneliness intimately. The silence that falls when you say what you actually think instead of what's expected. The distance that grows between you and old friends who no longer recognize you. The way potential partners recoil when they realize you can't be molded into their fantasy. The price of being real is that you become alien to those still invested in the theater of personas. And yet, would you go back? Could you? Once you've tasted the freedom of dropping the mask, once you've felt the deep relief of letting your actions align with your actual values, once you've spoken the truth that lives in your bones rather than the platitudes that live on everyone's tongues, there's no returning to the safe prison of inauthenticity, so you exist in this paradox. Free and lonely, liberated and isolated, true to yourself, but disconnected from a world that rewards performance over presence. You've discovered what Sartre knew. That hell is not other people. Exactly, but the choice between betraying yourself to be accepted or honoring yourself and risking rejection. Most days, you choose yourself, and you live with the consequences, and somehow, in the quiet moments, this is the only choice you could truly live with. Seventh sign. You see the invisible structures that bind others. There are chains everywhere, not physical ones, but the invisible structures of expectation, assumption, inherited belief, and normalized behavior that bind most people without their awareness. These chains tell people who to be, what to want, how to live, what matters. And the most effective chains are the ones people mistake for their own choices. You see these chains, not because you're superior, but because somehow you've developed a particular kind of vision that perceives the water the fish swim in. You notice how people's desires aren't really their own, but echoes of advertising and social pressure. You see how their moral certainties are often just the accidents of their birthplace and era. You observe how what they call freedom is often just choosing between pre-approved options. Sartre called this the spirit of seriousness. The attitude that treats contingent social constructions as if they were natural laws. The belief that things must be the way they are, that there's no alternative, that we're all just following a script written by reality itself. Most people live entirely within this framework, never questioning its walls because they don't even see the walls. But you do. You see the walls. You see how arbitrary so many of our most sacred institutions really are. Marriage, money, success, beauty, morality, progress. All these things that seem like eternal truths are actually human inventions, no more inevitable than the game of chess or the rules of grammar. Necessary fictions, perhaps. Useful constructions, but constructions nonetheless. This vision is both a curse and a gift. A curse because once you see the invisible, you can't unsee it. You're forever aware of the cage even when you're participating in the patterns it creates. But a gift because this awareness is the first step toward genuine freedom. You can't escape what you can't see. And you see. Eighth sign. You live in creative tension with despair. Here's the truth that Sartre understood and that defines your experience. Existence is fundamentally unjust. There's no cosmic reason for any of this. No divine plan that makes suffering meaningful. No guarantee that anything we do matters beyond the arbitrary meanings we assign. The universe is indifferent to human joy and human pain alike. This is the bedrock of existential philosophy. This is the starting point, not the conclusion. And you felt this truth in your bones, not as intellectual knowledge, but as lived experience. Those moments, perhaps at 3 a.m, perhaps walking through a crowd, perhaps in the middle of an ordinary day, when the bottom drops out of meaning and you're left staring into the void. The existentialists called it nausea, this visceral recognition of the contingency and absurdity of everything that exists. Most people, when they brush up against this darkness, they run, they distract themselves, they cling harder to their beliefs. They turn up the volume on whatever makes them feel less alone, and you understand why. The void is terrifying. The absence of inherent meaning is a kind of death. But you've learned something remarkable. You've learned to live in creative tension with this despair, not to overcome it, exactly, and certainly not to embrace it as some kind of nihilistic truth. Rather, to use it as the ground from which you build your own meanings, to let it strip away the false comforts and easy answers, and then, in that emptiness, to create. This is what Sartre meant by radical freedom. Not the freedom to do whatever you want, but the freedom and responsibility to create meaning in a universe that offers none. You don't wait for life to tell you what matters. You decide what matters. And yes, this is terrifying. And yes, you sometimes doubt whether your meanings are any more real than anyone else's. And yes, the despair still visits you in the quiet moments. But you've made a kind of peace with it. You've understood that the despair and the creativity are two sides of the same coin. The awareness that nothing matters inherently is also the freedom to decide what matters to you. And in that freedom, terrible and beautiful, you've found something like home, the burden and the gift, so here you are. A person who questions existence continuously, who cannot hide behind comfortable roles, who sees the absurdity that others ignore, who refuses easy answers, who feels radically responsible, who chooses authenticity despite its loneliness, who perceives invisible structures, and who lives in creative tension with existential despair. This is not an easy way to be. No one would choose this if they truly had a choice. It would be so much simpler to believe what you're told, to become what you're expected to become, to find comfort in the same illusions that comfort everyone else. Sometimes you envy that simplicity. Sometimes you wonder if your awareness is worth its cost. But here is what Sartre would tell you. What I'm telling you now. You are not broken. You are not damaged. You are not cursed with some terrible affliction that makes you unable to enjoy the simple pleasures of unconscious existence. You are awake. And yes, wakefulness hurts sometimes. Yes, consciousness is a burden. Yes, freedom is terrifying. But it is also magnificent. Because you are not merely living your life. You are creating it. Every day, with every choice, you are writing yourself into existence. You are the author and the character, the painter and the canvas, the question and the answer. Most people are content to be characters in someone else's story, to follow scripts written by tradition, culture, fear, and expectation. But you've claimed your authorship. Even when you don't know what to write, even when the blank page terrifies you, even when you make mistakes and have to cross out whole chapters, you're writing. You're creating yourself in real time. And that is the most profoundly human thing anyone can do. This is what it means to have an existential personality, a Sartrean consciousness. Not that you're special or better, but that you're awake to the strange miracle and burden of being human. And that wakefulness, painful as it sometimes is also the greatest gift you'll ever receive. Sartre spent his life trying to articulate what you experience daily. The weight of freedom, the responsibility of choice, the loneliness of authenticity, the creative tension between meaning and meaninglessness. He gave us language for experiences that many people have, but few can name. If you recognize yourself in these signs, know this: you are part of a long lineage of people who refuse to sleepwalk through existence. Philosophers, artists, thinkers, and countless ordinary people who chose the difficult path of awareness over the easy comfort of illusion. You stand in good company, even when you feel most alone. The world needs people like you. Not because you have all the answers, no one does, but because you refuse to stop asking the questions. Because you demonstrate that it's possible to live without certainty, to create meaning without guarantees, to be authentic in a world that constantly demands performance. So carry your rare personality with grace. Let it be both your burden and your gift. And remember, you are not condemned to be free. You are privileged to be free, even when it doesn't feel that way, even when the weight is almost too much. Even then, you are engaged in the most profound project there is, becoming yourself. And that, ultimately, is what Sartre wanted us to understand. That we are not just here. We are here, becoming, always becoming, endlessly creating ourselves. And in that endless creation, we find not answers, but something better. The freedom to live as genuinely human beings. Thank you for taking this journey with me. Until next time, may you carry your consciousness lightly and your authenticity boldly.